This week we've seen some fantastic looking employment figures being published about the state of the Australian economy. We have a record high of 13.2 million people employed. That translates into a laughably low unemployment rate of 4.6%. Average wages for full-time employed Australians went up to record heights, the highest ever recorded numbers. These must all be great news. Sadly enough, we can't stop this little video summary here. We have to dive a bit deeper because the figures aren't all they are made up to be. The average income figures for fully employed people, they mask quite a bit of the reality about the workforce in Australia. First and foremost, we've seen over the last 5 decades this big increase of part-time work across Australia. So the numbers that are capturing a full-time employed workforce, that is actually only representative of 2/3 of the market. We further need to understand, and I've written about this many times before, that the Australian workforce by now does not resemble a bell curve anymore, where we have a couple of poor folks, a couple of rich folks, but mostly people fall into the center. By now the workforce resembles a letter U, where we have lots of high income, lots of low income workers, but no one in the middle. In a U-shaped economy, numbers that describe the average miss the reality of workers on both ends, rather than providing an absolute meaningful average that roughly indicates how the average Australian is doing, simply because we have two different types of average Australians these days. We have a high income Australian, we have a low income Australian. So these realities are missed by the employment figures. We've also seen a big increase, particularly in part-time employed Australians that had reduced or not even any work hours over the last week. That means while you still might be employed, you might have not been given any shifts, or it might mean that you had a few hours to work. If you work, for example, for a government agency or a big stable company, that's fine. If you work fewer hours, it just means that you have more spare time and you probably have the same income. So what do you have to complain about? But the part-time employed workers, which covers lots of gig economy workers, if their hours get reduced, their income is very much linked to that. Also, a company is probably quite quick to let go of gig economy workers, of people that are contracted out. So really, those figures, those shiny employment figures, they look really good, they look excellent, but they describe the month of July when we had quite a bit of Australia in lockdowns with business activity suppressed. So it doesn't come as a surprise that those numbers are not really the beacon of hope. They are a result of a bizarre demographic setup in Australia and a changing culture or nature of jobs in Australia. So please don't take recent economic employment figures as wonderful sign for the future. Even the low unemployment rate probably indicates not a very strong economy, but an economy that struggles to fill all jobs. We are nearing what economists call full employment, which is an unemployment rate that is so low that business around Australia and across all industries struggle to fill jobs. So as always, a bit more nuance, a bit more background knowledge is needed to make sense of those figures. I, of course, wrote about this in my column this week, so I'm sharing the link below so you can read it in a bit more detail.